call to order. We have roll call, all present. Can count it. Pledge allegiance to the flag will be led by Commissioner Bras. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next section is for public comments at this time. If you have not done so and you choose to speak, please fill out the slip, the request to speak, and give it to the administrative person on my right. Please allow yourself 3 minutes. Talk directly into the microphone. Please state your full name and your residence. And do we have anyone scheduled for public comment?
Yes, I have one. Mr. Ron Spess.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ron Spess, 25223 Cali Madrid, Lake Forest, and I just wanted to let you know that I had a chance to talk with Jim Wheeler on Tuesday regarding the Tamaris ramp project, and he indicated that it's looking like there are going to be 2 or 3 more weeks of preparation on looking at the different options for putting that ramp in so that it does not go directly behind the condos on the access road that goes in there. So hopefully next month we'll have something to report out. We want to give Jim all the time he needs so that it's not put behind the condos. So thank you very much. Any questions? All right. Thanks for your concern.
Thank you. Glad to hear. Any other public comment request?
I have none.
Thank you. We'll move to our consent calendar. Minutes of the regular meeting of the Lake Forest Parks and Recreation Commission held on March 19th, 2015. If there are no changes on our minutes, entertain a motion to accept.
Just before the motion, a quick comment with something that is on all of our desks tonight. Carol and staff, thank you very much for these updates, which saved Carol the having to put another page of typing in the minutes. We really appreciate that. Thank you much.
Duly noted.
I'll second the motion.
We have to have a first
I'll
motion.
make the motion. Sorry.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor? Oh, we're going to press the buttons. Sorry.
Don't take the fun away.
We're good? Thank you. We now will move into a public hearing format to consider whether Village Pond Park is at risk of being overcrowded by wildlife. As part of the procedure for public hearing, if you haven't done so, please submit a request to speak to the admin person on my right. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please address directly into the microphone, state your name and residence. Do we have anyone scheduled to speak? Before that, I asked to speak. We will have some discussion first, though, on any questions that the commission might have of staff, and then we'll move into the public speaking phase for discussion. Is there any discussion or questions any of the commissioners would like to ask?
Yeah, quick one. Are we going to get a presentation by staff or before, or should we?
Yes, you will.
Okay.
Prior to, yes.
I would like to defer questions and comments till after the presentation.
All right. And then we'll move right into the public speaking format. Are there anyone scheduled for public comment on the open forum for the?
I have none.
Our next step is to have discussion and comment to adopt a resolution of the Parks and Recreation Commission of City of Lake Forest approving the list of designated premises at the risk of overpopulation of wildlife pursuant to Chapter 10.22 of the Lake Forest Municipal Code as it relates to the pond, the Village Pond Park. We're now open for discussion from the commissioners and comments.
Mr. Chair, if it would please the Chair, staff does have a presentation on this matter.
Okay,
prior to
we'll
discussion.
entertain the presentations subject to further discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the item before you this evening, it is a public hearing, and the recommendation from staff, the recommended action is that you adopt a resolution determining Village Pond Park is at risk of overpopulation of wildlife. And before we get to the presentation, I want to just sort of talk a little bit about why we're here and how we got to this point. The city has been, as you're all aware, the city's been very, very diligent in rehabilitating various parks. We spent about $8 million over the last 7 years doing so. One of the parks that's in line for rehabilitation is Village Pond Park. Park rehabilitation projects in general, they're various intents. Broadly speaking, it's to renew the infrastructure, reduce maintenance costs through innovative designs, but especially to improve the overall design and the cleanliness and healthiness of the parks for the enjoyment of the residents. In the design process for Village Pond Park, which we involved many residents were adamant that they wanted to keep the pond. It's obviously the most prominent feature of the park. Keeping the pond obviously poses some unique challenges that we don't experience in other park facilities. The challenge is how do you make the park safer and healthier for visitors and for the wildlife? Part of this is achieved through various design features. The other part has to do with educating the public about the harm that can be done to the wildlife by feeding the wildlife. Feeding the wildlife is harmful to the animals, and recently Council passed an ordinance that does allow the Sheriff's Department to cite individuals who are feeding the animals at any facility for which the Parks Commission makes a determination that the park is at risk of overpopulation. So in order for the ordinance to be enforced, it does require the Parks Commission to make this determination for Village Pond Park, to determine that the park is at risk of overpopulation. And with that, I'm going to leave the detailed presentation to our staff here. This evening we have Senior Management Analyst Carlo Tomaino and Recreation Manager Vicki Blevin. And I believe we'll start with Carlo.
Thank you, Mr. Wasserman. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Parks and Recreation Commission. Tonight, obviously, we're here to discuss Village Pond Park and whether it's at risk of being overcrowded by wildlife. A little bit of background before we get started. As you probably already know, Village Pond Park is a very unique recreational amenity in the city. It's about 4.7 acres in size. It's got a pond. Its most prominent feature, obviously, is about 1 acre in size. The park is also unique in that its maintenance is jointly shared by the Lake One Community Homeowners Association and the city. So the city maintains the landscaping and the other park features, while the association is responsible for the water quality and the maintenance of the pond. That was pursuant to an agreement that predates the incorporation of the city. And so there are some potentially complicating factors with that in terms of, obviously, how the park has evolved over time. The city attorney's office is in the process, by the way, of consolidating the undivided ownership interests that are associated with that park. So what occurred is at the time the county entered into its agreement with the association, it accepted a conveyance for undivided ownership. And so all the property owners had basically an interest in the park. And we've been going now for several months, I think, actually, and collecting the ownership of the park. Most recently, the City Council on March 3rd heard the first reading of the wildlife ordinance. Subsequently, at their very next meeting on the 17th, second reading. That means that the ordinance is actually now effective as of today. And because it's effective, we have to take action here, as Mr. Wasserman has pointed out. The Parks and Recreation determination that the park is at risk of being overcrowded would allow the city to essentially enforce the ordinance through citation or other action. So, for example, the violation of the ordinance could be understood to be a misdemeanor violation of the municipal code or a citation. But before we get into that, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of the criteria that we developed to help you make this decision tonight. So the city contracted with a consultant that's actually been working with Nuvis and Pace. Those are the companies that are out there now helping us to redesign the park and understand the water quality and wildlife issues. So that company is Aqua Bios, and Aqua Bios has helped us create 4 basic and broad criteria that may be used by the Parks and Rec Commission this evening in its determination. I'll go over those briefly. The first one is communicable disease. So that seems obvious, but the issue here is whether the conditions of the park have led to a spread of disease either among the same species of animals, different animals, or even perhaps diseases that may be transmitted to humans over time. You may recall that about 3 years ago there was an outbreak of avian botulism at Village Pond Park, and so that may be, in part, a consideration of this criteria. The second criteria is a natural or aggressive behavior, and what's meant by that is that the wildlife are exhibiting behavior that they otherwise would not exhibit in the wild. So we have some photos for you later, but the ducks do and the geese approach humans and see them as a source of food. On occasion, you also see them run out to the adjoining streets, such as Ridge Route Drive, when they see a vehicle and start surrounding some of those vehicles because they know that there's a person and that person may likely be there to feed them. So that's another criteria. The third is damage or costly maintenance or management efforts. Of course, the city has had to spend a considerable amount of money in the last few years to clean up the concrete area around the pond. The estimate is approximately $40,000 a year to power wash that area. The fourth and final criteria is devaluation of public property. And what's meant by that is that the park is somehow perceived to be less of a community asset and recreational facility because of the potential overcrowding issue. So to the extent that you deem reasonable, the question would be, is Village Pond Park less desirable as a recreational asset because of the animals? Obviously, there are some people that go there because they feel that they want to engage in the activity of feeding the animals, but perhaps there are individuals that feel that they do not go to the park because of the animals and what they leave behind. So that would be the fourth and final criteria. In order to make the determination, the Parks and Rec Commission would need to determine that Village Pond Park meets one or more of those criteria. And that's at your discretion, obviously. So now that, can we move on to the next slide? So now that we've covered the criteria, I want to speak a little bit about how your vote and how your action at this meeting has the potential to affect the city. As you know, the wildlife ordinance is set up in such a way where the Parks and Recreation Commission has to take some affirmative action to say, yes, we're putting this park on a list, yes, we feel that it is overcrowded, and as a result, the city may issue citations as a result. I will let Vicki go into the educational campaign that we're going to set out here, but I wanted to talk briefly about the citation structure to answer any questions that you might have. So currently, the wildlife ordinance says that our citation process is set up just like our administrative citations ordinance. If you're not familiar with that, it's an escalating process of citation. So in the instance that, let's take a code enforcement case. A neighbor who's got weeds that are very overgrown, if code enforcement goes out there, knocks on the door and says, I need to issue a warning, please correct this issue, they don't, they might return and then subsequently issue a $100 citation, followed by a $200 citation, and then a $500 citation, and then it's $500 every time thereafter. So currently the wildlife ordinance is attached to that process. Staff feels that the current citation process is a little cumbersome because firstly, you're asking field officers to maintain a list of every individual that they've found out in the field doing this and to verify that, yes, that person has a warning, but this person has a first offense and this person has a second offense. That becomes very cumbersome in the instance that the violation isn't attached to a property, such as a car or a home. That's one complication that we have. The other is that in as much as the activity at the park is considered recreational in nature, there are some individuals that would say, well, I'm going out there to feed the animals with my family because it's a family pastime. without really realizing that the activity is not only hurting the animals, but it's hurting the water quality of the pond. It's affecting the park in totality. So for that reason, we are going to bring back to the City Council next Tuesday, the 21st. We're going to hold a public hearing and request that the City Council reduce the citation amount to $50. So what would occur in the field, and this is at the officer's discretion, is that they would either receive a warning or a $50 citation in each instance, but not what's currently prescribed in the ordinance. So that is to come, and that action does depend on the City Council's vote on Tuesday evening. So with that concludes my portion of the presentation. I am going to now hand over the conclusion to Ms. Vicki Blethen. She's going to talk about our upcoming educational and outreach efforts, which we feel are very important in the park for the reasons that I described in terms of our park visitors. We want to first educate individuals and help them understand what their activities are doing relative to the animals before we engage in any citation action. So with that,
Thank you, Carlo. Yes, really important component of this process would be the education of the people that go out to the park. Many of them, as Carlo was saying, think this is a fun recreation activity for them to do, not realizing that they really are harming the animals by feeding them people food. So what we're looking to do, probably starting about May 1st, is we will have staff, so STARS and rec staff and possibly police, that will go out and they'll be handing out these cards. One side's in Spanish, one side's in English, to just give the staff will give the public general information on why they should not be feeding the waterfowl, what it does to the animals. We're hoping that will start the education process with them and to lessen the amount of people that will then go out. Also, the bottom of the cards both say in English and Spanish that they will be a possibility of having them get a citation in the future. So rather than just start out harsh and here's your citation, let's educate as well. So people will realize that they need to have something behind them going out to the park. And eventually, the next process of this would be the park renovation itself. So the two combined will help with lessening the amount of people that go to the park for feeding the waterfowl, which is a really important component as well. We're also hoping that when the park is renovated, that there will still be some waterfowl out there, but people will realize with the education that will continue, let's not feed them people food. And that concludes our report. Back to Carlo.
And Mr. Chair and members of the Commission, our wildlife biologist that helped us develop the criteria has arrived in case you have any detailed questions about the criteria.
Okay. I think we're at this point where we'll have open discussion among the commissioners and ask any questions or comments. Starting to my right, Commissioner Roseberg.
Thank you. A number of questions, starting maybe first with the education part, because that's the softest measure of all of it. Is there at this point, again, to pass a resolution might be a pretty easy thing. And that's kind of like the work starts when the sale is made or something like that. But for it to be successful, is there already a formula for a frequency of this process?
We're comprising that formula. We do know that we will have staff that are there mornings and late afternoon and on the weekends. So we don't have an exact timeline yet, but we're comprising a formula. Another part of this is to be able to see how many people we're giving these out to. So we'll be documenting that. So if a person goes there at 9 o'clock on Monday morning and hands out cards to 5 people, they'll document that. They go there on Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock and they give it out to 20 people, they'll document that. That way we can keep track of how many people we've done outreach and education to as well. And we have a training with police services next week for the people that are going to be giving out the cards to help them realize how to approach people, because we're realizing that some people may not want to receive the card, may not be unsure of what it is, and to also figure out how to take feedback from the general public. Now, obviously, we don't need to do that with the police staff or the stars, but we may need to do that with some of our rec leaders.
Right, because I think, again, as was mentioned, how do you want to say, the use of law enforcement for the enforcement part is the most costly and
Exactly.
in some ways,
Yeah.
least likely if the dispatcher has a
Other
choice
things
of
for them
calls
to do.
between a
Right.
duck feeding citation and, a homicide or a multiple car accident.
I can say that they, talking to to Lieutenant Valentine, they would much rather do an education
Right.
for something like this than give out
Yeah.
a citation. So I think that will be part of their normal circuit.
But even the
going that part-
availability
exactly.
probably would be the least. A suggestion for consideration with the digital age that everybody lives in now, and the eyesight ain't bad, but some of this on at least on the 8.5 by 11, I would need a magnifying glass. But knowing approximate size of the cards is to find some kind of a quote really good website talking to the subject that could be put on there for more information. And people literally probably right there would take their handheld and look it up. And
We could do a QR code that was attached to that. So if you QR code, you can hold your phone up to the QR code and it
you can
leads
do
you right
that,
to the
or
app.
you can give them the website. Or,
Yeah.
But some corollary information that can kind of justify as opposed to, somebody give me a card and do that. Another quick question on the cards. Given to everybody or just people feeding?
I think at this point in time, we would definitely be giving them to people feeding, but we would probably give them to people that were at the park in general, because in all honesty, the majority of people that go there to that park go to feed when I've been there.
Yeah. They may be
So-
there today, but
Yeah.
tomorrow come back
Exactly.
with food,
Yeah.
and you maybe don't catch them. I think especially
Yeah.
at the beginning, the more
The more we
we
give
can
out, the
do
better.
and the more outreach
Right.
we can get
Right.
to doing this, the better off that we would become. Okay, coming to kind of like the enforcement and the issues that all raises, is it only going to be law enforcement, or can code enforcement enforce as well?
Commissioner Rosenberg, yeah, we have the ability to use either the sheriff or code enforcement officers for the citations.
Stars as well?
No.
Okay, good, because I think that might present a little bit of a precarious situation.
Well, in fact,
possibly.
they aren't legally enabled to
Okay.
issue citations.
Yeah, because that would be, let me just look, I had a couple of quick things that I wrote down, but I think some have already been answered by your presentation. Go ahead, and Victor, if you don't mind, pass on, and if I can,
You can always,
Yeah.
we always can come back.
I can come back. Thank you.
You, Commissioner Herron.
All right. In regards to getting the word out, I'm hoping we've already been working with the homeowners association there, right? And are they going to do some kind of something in their newsletter? Because a lot of people that go to that park live right there, and they should definitely know what's going on, right? So I'm hoping that we've got their newsletter, and then also a lot of the HOAs have their own websites and their own Facebook pages, and I think we need to make sure that this information is on those sites as well, because a lot of people do that. And in years past, and it has been a long time, we had some kind of a educational fair there with
It was many years ago.
right, the Rangers came, and we got
Let's see, I started here 11 years ago, and my first year was the year that they stopped doing it, so it's been about 12 years.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I think that maybe that's something we should, at least maybe this year, bring back to life, and that way would be a perfect way to educate all the people that will come to the park to learn about wildlife. This is a perfect opportunity to do some more education. So that's my 3 cents. And thank you for coming. I was just going to say the report was very good, I thought. Lots of good detail. And yes, we do have there are a lot of waterfowl there at that park. They're definitely impacting the enjoyment of the park. So, do you want to add anything, or?
I'm Deanna Vitella Hayashi with Aqua Bio Environmental. And one other easy way to get this going would be an outreach program to your local elementary school. The children are your best advocate you would have, and they would be the ones to start with. So if you could have either during, they have
Their assembly in the morning.
assembly in the morning, have either, someone come out and explain, even bring an animal, or photos, what happens. That's one of the best ways and quickest through the children.
Thank you.
That's a great idea. And also, we have the Kids Factory. We have a lot of kids enrolled in the Kids Factory program where we can get their word out there.
Very good. Commissioner Workmeister?
Hey, thank you guys for coming today, and great report again, as always. This is a tough discussion tonight, and I have to, before I say anything, I have to ask a question. If we approve this resolution, and then we rebuild the park, because I have a good feeling, I don't know how to put it, that once we do the design, the geese are going to go away because we're obstructing their landing path. Can we rescind this resolution, and how hard is that? Because what worries me is we put this in place, and what's going to happen is it's not possible for Orange County Sheriff or code enforcement to catch everybody. And so local neighbors are going to show up to city council meetings, and they're going to complain that people are feeding the waterfowl. And so you kind of paint yourself into a corner with an ordinance and a resolution like this. And so what worries me, if we put this in place and then we fix the park, because the duck will still be there. They've been there. I mean, heck, I had my prom pictures taken there. I mean, it's been a long, and that was a really long time ago. So my mom just lives right around the corner from there. So it's a great park, but I don't want to make it. I don't want to make controversy out of it. So my question, I guess, is if we put this resolution in place, can we, after the design is complete, and we say, hey, look, the geese are gone because we've obstructed their flight path, can we come back and say, hey, let's pull this resolution because there's no longer an issue, the criteria is no longer met, can we take this away?
If I might address that, Chair and Vice Chair, the Commission has the discretion to ask that this matter be brought back to the Commission, and a resolution can be rescinded or amended at your discretion.
Okay, that's great, because I have a feeling once we start the construction, they're going to go away anyway, and we start the cleanup. I know they live on Lake One, because, as I said, that's where my mom lives there. I can go paddleboarding on it all the time. And so, but I still think, I don't want to force ourselves in one spot. My other concern about this is, I always think of money, and now we're talking about draining resources. So now we're sending recreation staff or whoever's staff over to Village Pond Park to basically kind of police it, and I don't like that very much. And so I think we have to do it because the park is a mess until we get it cleaned up, and hopefully with the provisions we're putting in place, we can stop, at least reduce the number of waterfowl there. So I love the idea about the outreach to the schools, but I think, with that being said, I appreciate that. That was my biggest question coming in tonight, because we certainly meet at least 2 or 3 of the criteria that we're talking about, in my opinion. So that's it. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair and members of the Parks and Rec Commission, if I might add just to that point that the city attorney made, I think what you would do in that instance is effectively hold another public hearing in the same fashion, and then determine that the park no longer meets any of the criteria, right? So you basically take this process backward. And so once if you find in the future that the waterfowl population is significantly reduced and these other effects are not present, that would be your opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Would that be something that staff, because they're at the park a lot, apparently, since they're going to be out there doing the education stuff, that they can kind of give us a report back and say, hey, maybe this is something we can look at, or how would we go about doing that, short of us bringing it up?
Yes, we can, is a short answer, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair. And just to clarify, the public education campaign, it is time limited. So this is not on an endless basis where rec leaders will be out there handing things out. This is something that we'll do probably for weeks and months, but not on an indefinite basis.
Okay.
But we can certainly report back to the Commission on the progress, the number of folks that we help educate out there, the number of citations that are issued over time. We can report back on all these statistics.
And on the note of the rec staff that we're going to be using, particularly on the weekends, you're all familiar with our field ambassadors that go out. That's who will be doing this. So we'll make it part of their normal staff scheduling. So they'll go by the park in the mornings when they go out to do their rotations on Saturday or Sunday, and then they'll go back in the afternoon, early afternoon or late evenings when they go back out to do the second round of ambassador work.
Okay.
So we've already thought with that in mind of additional staff time, how we're going to work this in. Well, this worked out perfect because they already go down by that area as it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brajas?
Nope, I have no questions. Mine was answered as to how long the campaign would last for education. A couple weeks, couple months. Okay, that was my one question.
I have a couple points. And as much as I view this action as a urgent action, because a lot of thought has gone into coming up with a solution, and a lot of work has been put in the staff time, not to mention the hiring of consultants to pull together a strategy, which I think is excellent. It still remains that despite the enforcement outreach, it's really up to the individual neighbors and residents to really jump on this effort, because you can have all the enforcement and all the various things in place without the support of the local residents. It can easily unravel, meaning that the homeowners association, I believe, have a critical role in the success of whatever is decided, meaning that I'm an advocate of a neighborhood watch program, no different in prevention of crime in various neighborhoods. But more importantly, the more eyes we have on the community and the park, the more emphasis that is placed on participation by residents who live there, and as much as, in my observations, because I live about 5 minutes from there near El Toro High School, and it's been my observation, there are people who will continually drive up, open the trunk of their car, take out a big plastic bag of food, usually bread or some unnourishing food, and start broadcasting the food to the birds, and they're flocking around. Okay. I don't expect any citizen to approach people to act as enforcement officials, and that's the fear I have, because it will create, in most instances, confrontation. And I'm not suggesting or even encouraging that. However, having the eyes and ears of the neighborhood to report such incidents to the appropriate people, appropriate enforcement people with the signage, is critically important, because this is going to be a long-term process of education and orientation, because in the past there's been no regulation. So it's been a free-for-all. We know that, and this goes back years and years and years. I highly encourage that the association be proactive by working hand-in-hand with the city staff and the enforcement to determine how best to work together and to enter into some type of neighborhood watch kind of program whereby signs will be posted, so forth and so on, but to be as proactive as possible, because, back to the earlier comment, the one thing I don't want to see is this have a boomerang effect of revisiting this thing again at City Council and having another discussion that, remember 6 months ago we were working on this and we implement all these things, and now we're not seeing as much progress as we would like to see. I would certainly want to head that one off and make sure we get off on the right foot. So what I'm saying is I would like to encourage a plan of action to incorporate these additional elements through the local residents, particularly the homeowners association, to motivate them to be taking ownership and working in concert with the city staff and enforcement authorities. And I feel this would increase the probability of a very successful implementation. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, should adjourn comment, if I may?
Yes.
A couple of them. I agree with, I think, the comment made by Commissioner Herron that the prime area or the prime usage is the population living closest to it, which is Lake Forest Community Association, Lake Forest 1, majority of the people. And I agree, some travel, but they don't travel necessarily great distances to, to go find some ducks and a loaf of bread. So I totally agree that that is our prime target of residents. I like the idea of maybe getting a little bit of a neighborhood watch concept in the area, but I think it should be very clear that where this ranks, as opposed to suddenly police services being inundated with, aren't they feeding the ducks? Send help, to maybe code enforcement or even into the department. That's a staff decision to be made. Commissioner Workmeister, the comment you made, yeah, it is a hard decision to make. It is. But to paraphrase a couple of lines from the movie American President some years ago, where Michael Douglas is finally facing his opponent and says these are serious times, which mean it's time for serious issues. This has been ongoing for decades, more years than I think any of us could even recall. I, too, am a homie to that patch of land, so yeah, I've seen it firsthand go to where it is today. From an economic standpoint, yeah, there are economics involved, but I think the quote was $40,000 being spent to power wash right now. If we don't have to power wash it, there's $40,000 maybe we can use to enforce it, which means we don't have to power wash, so we're not necessarily providing an increased cost. I also think this will take a little time. It's not going to be an overnight thing. We're changing a culture of a neighborhood, of part of a city, that if you want to go feed ducks with your kids, head down to something called the duck pond. If you survey the residents in that area and you say Village Pond Park, they will look at you and say, do you mean the duck pond? Because that's what they know it as. So it's been known as for, a ton of years. I think, if I understand the process, if we approve it tonight, because it has, and excuse my probably improper paraphrasing, tonight the ordinance went into law. Am I not speaking out of turn saying that, right?
Yeah, the ordinance that the council adopted.
Right, because it's
is
been through two readings.
Is effective 30 days after the second reading, which I understand is today.
Which is today.
Right.
Okay, so, does that technically mean that tomorrow morning, if I saw somebody feeding a duck, I could call code enforcement, the sheriff, whatever, and say, send help?
You can only do that if this commission adopts the resolution
Okay.
that's before it, making certain findings with respect to these criteria.
Right, okay, so I understand that, and that's good, because, and then it's another kind of semi-legal question, could the resolution be adopted with maybe a couple of these planning questions being answered or being scheduled to be completed?
I'm not exactly sure what you mean in terms of adding
Okay,
language
what
to the
I've
resolution.
heard from tonight, and again, maybe I'm perceiving something a different way, that like some of the education process, the complexity of it, the who's, the finalization of the actual literature, are not ready to go, let's say, tomorrow morning. I presume there is a schedule at which time they will be ready to go.
Yes, Commissioner Rosenberg, I think I can answer that question. So staff, since the City Council heard this issue, has been working steadily to develop that implementation
Okay.
strategy. And the way that it would work is if you voted for the resolution tonight and adopted the resolution, there's a 15-day appeal period, meaning that the citation action couldn't be effective really until early May. I think the date is
Okay,
actually
great.
May
Which
2nd.
would give time.
It gives us a little bit more time. Next week,
Super.
as Ms. Blethyn described, we're going to have a training that includes the park ambassadors, the code enforcement officers, and police services to go over the process of how to approach people. We also have an article that will be published in the leaflet the 20th of this month. We're working with Nuvis to install some temporary signs out there that make reference to the municipal code. We're also going to distribute the flyers, obviously, and then put information on the city's website about this and do as much outreach as possible. And all the things that you've described this evening, which I think are fantastic ideas, so reaching out to the HOAs, particularly Lake One, because I agree with you that there needs to be a sense of ownership there from the community and from the neighborhood that surrounds the pond. And so we will do that. We will reach out to them. We will communicate with them. And so that process and that plan will be active and in place before any citations may be issued. Now, we don't plan on doing that immediately. So our conceptual idea at this juncture is to perhaps have a 60-day period in which we're really only educating and issuing citations. So we're looking really at maybe July, in which code enforcement or police services would be enforcing the wildlife ordinance via citation on what we call an opportunities basis. So not actively patrolling the park, but if they're not on another call, they may stop by, see what's going on. If they receive a call for service, they would certainly go to the park. But of course, that precludes them not having other immediate priorities that may, cause them to be somewhere else. So, in a nutshell, that is our current strategy. I hope that answers.
No,
your
it
question.
answers it completely, which is great, because it gives time to incorporate all of the things to make it ready. One last thing with Lake Forest One, because I think it is absolutely key that those people, the residents, especially ones the most proximate to the park itself, are on board with the program. And I do know also that in the past, some of the, call it relationship and negotiations, to use that term, between the city staff and the board members, especially one or two in particular, have been, a little kind of, the fingers get pointed and things like that. One of the things that I would like to suggest is I have I'll call it a very semi-personal and professional relationship with the president of the homeowner association. And Dave kind of gets what he wants around there, and has been there for a lot of years, would be to kind of, broker what I would call like a friendly meeting, as opposed to one that involves, contracts and who's responsible for what and things like that, to help promote the educational effort in Lake Forest One. The other tool that we could be able to use then, they have, which most of the HOAs do not have, an email blast program within the association itself, that I'm sure if he, felt positive about doing it, which would be really for the good of the association too, and property values as opposed to the mess pond that it is now, I'm sure there would be an easy access to that for part of the education process. So, I'll leave that to our director. If you would like me to, to do something, I'd be more than happy to do that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
Yeah, actually, I just want to say one thing. So, and Jim, I kind of want to respond to your comment, because I don't think you understood my point. When I was talking about the money in the drain, what I didn't want to do is put a resolution in place that is continuous. Yeah, we're still going to spend the $40,000 on cleaning up the sidewalks, but we're still, at the same time, we're still have the staff go out there. And my personal belief is, once we start the work, once we drain the pond, assuming that's as the plan is going forward, a lot of these problems will go away. Now, whether they come back or not, we just don't know. We won't know until that happens. But but I don't like wasting sheriff resources, and I don't like wasting city staff resources going over there. As much as I want that park cleaned up, and I absolutely do, we still have a responsibility, that we have to be mindful of what our resources are going towards. Now, in this case, we have to do it, but I just want to make sure if the problem goes away, we can stop allocating those resources. So, thank you.
Very good. Yes, Commissioner.
I just want to confirm we are going to use the stars as in part of this program because I think they'd be very valuable, So, all right, thank you.
My comment, this is going to be a process. We don't have any precedent within the city for doing the actions that are needed here. So this is going to be a learning process for all of us, and without a doubt. And I think the comments made from the dais indicate that this action is necessary, and however, we want to be cautious in making sure that we're seeing the expectations being met over a reasonable time frame. So I'm sure we'll be getting update and reports and progress, various things as time goes on, to make sure we're on, have to make any adjustments. So with that in mind, if there's no further comments or questions from the commissioners, the chair will entertain a motion.
I'd like to just interrupt just briefly, Mr. Chair, and you did at the beginning of this matter open the matter for public comment. I believe there were no speaker cards. However, since that time, you have had a couple members of the public.
Very well.
So it might be appropriate to make that inquiry again, and then if there's nobody who wants to speak, you can close the public hearing.
Yes, we want to make sure if any of those who have entered in the meeting will have the opportunity of presenting any public comment. If there is a public comment, you'd be limited to 3 minutes. Talk directly into the microphone. Please identify yourself by name and your residency. And typically, we would ask you to fill out a slip to request the opportunity for public comment, but I think we can ask if anybody would like to step up for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to present a public comment on this matter at this time? Okay, I think we're good. Thank you. All right, let me
In that case, I'll make the motion that Chair is looking forward to call for a vote on the resolution before us.
For the record, I will state the resolution that we are voting on to make sure everyone understands what the resolution is. And the resolution states that a resolution on the Parks and Recreation Commission, City of Lake Forest, California, to approve the list of designated premises in which we have been discussing tonight at the risk of overpopulation of wildlife pursuant to Chapter 10.22 of the Lake Forest Code, specifically referencing the Village Pond Park, is at risk of being overcrowded by wildlife. Is there any comment or additions to the resolution at this point?
And I'll second the motion as it was read.
All right, we'll call for a vote by pressing yes or no on your device. Vote is unanimous and accepted for the resolution. Director's report is, I'm sorry, March 2015 recreational report, is that correct?
Actually, item 3 is...
Oh, Cherry Park, I'm sorry.
Cherry Park, right.
I got a little bit, yeah, let's see, I don't want to overlook that. Thank you very much. All right, Cherry Park, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. This report will be given by Recreation Manager Vicki Blevin.
Takes me a while to get back over to this side. All right. Chair and Commissioners, I wanted to give you an update on Cherry Park Bridge Project. I think you all remember that during the public comment portion of the July 17th Parks and Recreation Commission meeting, we had residents come and talk to you all about the Cherry Park pedestrian bridge and what it looked like and how they had a great idea to improve the bridge. So after that meeting, Gary Miguel, the former director, gave me the directive to work with Nicole and Hannah on improving Cherry Park, and so the work began in August of 2014. We met at the park at that point in time, and what we first talked about doing was repairing the bridge itself. It had loose boards, it needed to be painted, it just needed some tender loving care, basically. So we worked with Public Works and got that done in the fall, and then at that point in time, we met on a quarterly basis to decide about kind of what we thought should happen to the bridge. And I really, even though I'm giving the report, I want to let you know that Hannah and Nicole really have done the majority of the work for this. They've done work meeting with the Historical Society to decide kind of what we thought would go good on the bridge. They started a blog to get interest about the bridge project itself. They contacted local art schools to get collaboration on helping to paint the bridge. And Hannah, in particular, worked with the Saddleback Valley Historical Society, their library, and their members. And so she became in contact with Bonnie Bennett, which gave her so much background about that area itself and how it became called Bennett Ranch, that the house that's now at Heritage Hill was located in that park area at that point in time. And also gave her ideas of what foliage and fauna were around the house itself. And that's kind of how we came up with some of the ideas that may be painted on the bridge. So the things that we were looking at were double delight roses, Bennett Ranch in handwriting, red geraniums, a glass collection, something with a ranch house. She was told that there was lots of orange groves, so something with oranges, an apple tree. And she also has met with Emily McEwen, who is with Orange County Historical Society, and Helena Majeska House, and she's very excited about helping us with this project. So moving forward, we have a tentative timeline that to get the bridge project completed in June of 2015, so that's coming up quickly on us. So what we're working on now is finalizing a snapshot of what images will be painted on the bridge itself. And one of your attachments shows you an idea of kind of what we were looking at doing there. Recruiting and coordinating volunteer artists to help sketch the outlines of the snapshots, and recruiting and coordinating community volunteers to paint the sketches themselves, and then setting a date for a painting party. We're looking tentatively at doing this the end of May, beginning of June, having the painting party itself. And as we move forward, at the May meeting, I'll be able to give you the exact date that we'll have this scheduled, if not beforehand. So that's my report for this evening, and of course, if Hannah or Nicole want to give you any input, come on up, and if you guys have anything you want to talk about as well. And we're very happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, I just want to thank you guys for all your support and tell you that I grew up in the Bennett Ranch housing tract and that I went away to college, but getting interested in community art projects and public history, I found this newfound pride for this community over the last year, and I'm really proud of everything we do here. So, yeah, and Vicky's been so great to work with, and Vicky is awesome. And yeah, the Heritage Hill and Emily, like Vicki spoke about, we're trying to plan also a connection between the event and an event at Heritage Hill. So people that participate in the event will also take an extra trip to Heritage Hill to see the actual house. So maybe having just photographs at the event displayed at the Bennett Ranch house at Heritage Hill might create more of a connection between that area and more traffic at Heritage Hill, which is always nice for them. So.
So if you have any questions, we'd be very happy to answer this for you.
Well, I do have questions. I mean, I'm excited about this because I think this will be a really
Yeah.
nice concept, and I'm glad we're trying to get art in the parks. We've
Right.
tried to do that a long time. I'm just worried you're going to do all this beautiful artwork, and then people are going to step on it, and it's going to, how are we going to protect that?
Well, we're looking at a variety of paint types that we can use that will be more of a protective type paint. And Public Works has been very supportive of helping us with this project. So I'm actually kind of looking at them for their expertise on this as well. And Hannah's done projects similar to this up in Santa Cruz. So she's very in tune with artists that can give us their input, as well as what they've done in past projects in Santa Cruz.
Okay, I just want to preserve it.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely.
We do all this
Right.
effort, and we're so proud of it, and we want it to stick. So there you go. So that's...
Well, thank you. I think all of us are excited because this has been anticipated for some time. So,
Thank you for offering an opportunity for a couple more questions, comments, and first of all, super. I mean, I remember when you came in front of us and you still have the gleam in your eye, which is really cool to see, and nice project. To maybe answer my colleague's question a little bit, it's not that much only what you use for the paint type, but it's the surface and what you seal it with.
Right.
Looking at this right here, I presume it's wood again.
Correct.
Plain wood.
Correct.
I don't know, maybe hindsight's the greatest Monday morning quarterback in the world. If something like Trex had been used or whatever, a little bit more up front, but it lasts
Right.
a lot longer, you can do more things with it. But I feel confident that Public Works or a good contractor making a kind of favor visit could look at it and say, this is what you need to seal it to keep it vibrant and looking at it, because that's a good point. People are going to walk on it, and that you definitely want to see it. A comment in relation to the artists' involvement and influence, and I will talk later a little bit more about in our comments about the Saddleback Valley Art League, but two-pronged approach on their part. We offer them in Lake Forest facilities that they are just dying to be able to use, and we also are interested in increasing the art exposure in the city. So maybe there's a little bit of a marriage made in heaven if they might like or have some artists in there that would like to volunteer, and I will forward
Oh, yes, please do.
you the contact information for the president of it. And I got a small group that's part of it that's Lake Forest based. The majority are outside Lake Forest, but they're looking to grow the group here.
Oh, good.
So, that's again kind of a reciprocity that maybe they do something for us and for this project, and we can do some things for maybe them down the line. So, that was one thing. Are you planning to maybe possibly even plant some of that foliage in the park besides on the bridge? I know geraniums and a lot of the roses would be tough probably, but geraniums are colorful in their own right.
I haven't talked to Public Works
Okay.
about that, but we could. But you want to tell them what you told me, Hannah?
Yeah, so I just talked to the Bennett Ranch Homeowners Association about the project. I emailed Eli. I don't know if you guys know them, but and I asked if they could plant red geraniums in the planter boxes on each of the Bennett Ranch signs, and he said as long as they like direct sunlight, which I'm pretty sure they do, they definitely love that idea, and they will do that. So, he was like, yeah, we'll absolutely do that when it comes around next time that. So,
Cool.
There's a photo that you guys will eventually see of the Bennett Ranch house on the corner of 2nd, and it's just like overgrown with all red geraniums. And it was actually Mr. Bennett that liked the red geraniums, not Mrs. So, yeah, he was good at it.
Great
Yeah.
idea. And then I would hope, I presume it's probably in the planning stage too, that when this is all done, there'd be a little bit of a grand opening to
Oh,
tout
oh my
this
gosh, yes.
and
Oh,
ribbon
yes.
cutting and
Definitely.
article in the newspaper,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
if Mission Viejo doesn't get in front
Yeah.
of us, you know, so.
Yeah. I would definitely do something like
Great
that. yeah.
project,
Yeah.
really great.
Thank you.
I just want to say thanks. You guys are so awesome for doing this. Just thank you very much. It's just so cool to see. I can't. It's great. So if we can do anything, let us know. And it's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we're ready to move on to the next item. Are we? Are there any other comments? Okay. I'll make sure.
I just want to say, I did drive by the park and make sure I check out the bridge, and it's still looking good.
All right. Last call. Thank you. Item number 4, March 2015 recreational report.
For the month of March, I do have a few updates for you, a few highlights. First of which was Bunny Blast, which was on March 28th, once again at El Toro Park. Perfect park for that event itself. We had a record-setting crowd of approximately 3,500 people that all enjoyed the egg scrambles, the Wonderland egg stations, and the Mardi Gras band, and of course, all of the characters that go along with that event. Another highlight, and this is on new programs, we had a kids' night out where we had kids ages 3 to 11 that came to the rec center on March 13, and we had 32 kids where their parents dropped them off for the evening, and that enabled the parents to go out and have some adult time. We also had, the next weekend, they were busy at the rec center, they had a similar event called Last Fridays for Teens, and that sold out with 33 participants, and that was on March 27th. They had, was for 11 to 14-year-olds, similar population that we have in our Teen Lounge program. And the parents dropped them off again. They had pizza, they had dancing, they had music. The rec center is a perfect place for that event. We did have that here at the City Hall at one other point in time. We had a somewhat good turnout, 12, 13 kids, but now 33. I think that they're all wanting to come to that event. Other highlights for the month are we had at the skate park, we had our spring break camp that was named one of the top 10 spring break camps by the OC Moms blog, which actually is another reason that our camps are so full, is because moms like the camps at a great price. And getting this type of recognition still indicates that we're a great family-friendly facility. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ooh, I like that. We need to put that in our brochure. Other highlights for the month were, let's see, I did our Friday nights, I did our Bunny Blast Kids Night. Lastly, I did want to highlight the Special Olympics co-host towns that we are co-hosting with Laguna Hills. For the athletes to be here in Lake Forest from July 21st to the 24th. They'll be utilizing the sports park for their training. We have activities planned for them as well. We have our special needs dance that they'll be going to, and that will be open to the general special needs population as well, but it's going to be for them also. We have plans for them to go to the OC Fair. They're also going to be going to the Spectrum and do some shopping on their off time also. So we have some recreational fun activities other than just the training. Local businesses that have been able to donate for us. Bagels and Brew is giving us one of the meals one night. Chick-fil-A is giving us one of the meals another night. We have JFK Transportation, which is who we use for our Teen Lounge program. They'll be the transportation. They're donating their services to take them to and from different locations while they're here. So we've been working very closely with local businesses and have a great amount of outreach from them. Are there anything else on that? They will be leaving on Saturday to go to the Olympic Games themselves, and that goes from July 25th to August 2nd. So as we get closer, if there's any more updates to give you, obviously we'll update you on that. The last thing I wanted to bring to your attention in the calendar for the month of May is that
resident registration for summer recreation programs begins May 12th, and it's already summer almost. So that's my report for this month. If you have any questions, I would be very happy to answer those for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the report. Director's report, City of Lake Forest travel policy.
Mr. Chair, could we ask questions of Vicki?
Oh, of course. Yes, are there any questions or comments? By all means, Commissioner
Yeah,
Rosen.
a couple, thank you. Starting with the kids' night out. 3-year-olds making their own hot fudge sundaes.
Oh, yes.
When is the next one? I need to come see that.
Yeah.
That's probably what I call grand
Those are the best.
training, you know. So
Those are the best, those 8.
I think that's
yeah.
phenomenal. I think
Yeah.
that is a great idea. Either that or you had a bunch of parents that just, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
I got to get away. So that's wonderful. With the Special Olympics, for those people, a couple of quick questions. Did Quality Inns donate the lodging too?
No.
Okay.
We had sponsorships from CCNR. Let's see, Kelly Blue Book.
Okay.
And,
No, that's great.
Yeah. So we
But you're
had
locked in with them, aren't
yes.
you? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Because there were a couple of closer
Yeah.
places that
Right.
were interested, et cetera.
But they didn't donate. They gave us a really good rate.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
sure that was.
So it was
great.
not donation per se, but they gave us the best
Great
rate they
publicity,
could. Yeah.
and I would suggest that these type of certificates or something to all
Oh,
these people that, you know,
yes,
they
definitely.
put up on the wall.
Yeah.
It's dollars. Are you still looking for any other meals?
Not at this point in time that I'm aware, but I will ask Marilyn,
Marilyn?
who's
Okay,
working directly
Okay.
with them. We are looking to do some sort of a goodie bag for the athletes when they leave on Saturday to go to the Olympics
Okay.
themselves.
Is she
So
gonna kind of
yeah, she's going to coordinate in that
spearhead
portion of
that?
it. So that may be something we would be looking at
Okay.
to get some donations for.
And how many? I think you mentioned last time are staying.
We have right now 88.
Wow.
Now, unfortunately, there are some that are coming from Syria, so we are unsure. But at this point in time, it sounds like they're all still able to come.
Okay. Good. Okay, I'll talk to her and
Yeah.
and you as well. Because I think there's a few little things that need that probably could be donated to it. Is there a date for the dance, for the special needs dance?
Oh, you know what? There is. Let me
That's
see if
part
I
of this.
have it in my information. For some reason, it's popping in my head that it's either the Tuesday night that they're here, that would be the 21st, or the Wednesday night. It is not a Friday or Saturday, so it's an evening.
Weeknight again?
Yeah, it's weeknight. Yes, correct.
And that's going to be here or up there?
It's going to be here at City Hall, similar
And
to where we had our last one. Yeah.
And we will also invite other people?
Yes. It's
So it'll be
open-
another one?
Yes.
Great.
It'll be part of our normal quarterly special needs dance that we've had. We're adding to our programming. Yeah.
Very cool. Let's see. Another thing. I answered that. Oh, yeah, the other question, and I've got to look at this real quick because you may have answered it in speed reading. I may not have gotten it. The Kids Factory, the 2 sites with shelter, even though with the rain
Yeah.
that we're getting, it might be an issue in 5 years from now or something when we're all dried up. But is there any kind of progress on that, or?
The answer that I received was that especially at Gates, they have other programs that go on in their multipurpose room. So it's very hard for them to get inside to use that on the days that there's rain. They have so many other programs that do outreach at that particular school site that it's hard for them to then have that many kids in the multipurpose room with the other programs that are going on there.
Are there any grants available for stuff like that?
There may be. I'm not aware of any. I can definitely check on that, but I'm not aware of any right offhand.
It could be used to enhance an existing
Yeah.
program, or it'd be probably different if we lived where you do get inclement weather a lot.
Right.
But sure ain't here. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Appreciate that. Again, great report, great activities.
Okay, my turn. On the, under senior activities, the St. Patty celebration, 100 and some people, seniors, all Lake Forest residents? How did we manage that?
Didn't let anybody else in, huh?
I'd love to say that that's 100% true. I do know what's on that report that is true, that nobody got pinched.
Oh, I know that part. I figured that part.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I know.
Yeah.
Our senior programs
Yeah.
are so popular,
Yeah.
not only with
I think,
Lake Forest,
I hate
but
to say that we have errors in our report, but I would say that that may be an error.
okay,
Yes.
all right, because I was like, really? How do we manage that?
Yeah.
Because normally when we're so popular with these programs,
I feel
the word
comfortable
gets
saying
out.
that
The word gets out. All the
50 to
students wanna come.
60% were Lake Forest residents.
Okay, all right. I was
And nobody got pinched.
okay. All right, thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay. Just want to make sure. Now, shall we go to item 4 for, or I'm sorry, item Director Report, City of Lake Forest Travel Policy.
Thank you, Chair Scher and Commissioners. I have two brief items to discuss this evening. The first is the City of Lake Forest travel policy. This is a travel policy. It was actually passed last November. It predates my time with the city, but we realized recently that we didn't distribute a copy to the commissioners, so we've made a copy. Each of you should have a hard copy available this evening. And we're not going to go over it, but I do encourage you to read it and familiarize yourself with it. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to contact me. We can get those answered for you. The second item in my report, it just pertains to email. And each of you should have a city email address. And I just wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about the importance of not using your personal email address to discuss commission business. We really encourage you to use the city email address as part of the movement towards transparency that we're trying to achieve in the city of Lake Forest. That concludes the director's report, if there are no other questions.
I got a question. When you were referring to the email address, is it the one on your cards, or is there another one?
Is on the cards, isn't it?
Because one of the cards is lakeforestca.gov.
We did this after I printed the card, so I will be getting new cards for everybody.
Oh, I see.
And you each have an email address, and I will send you, I'll put it on your cards and I'll send it to you, what the actual email address is. It's pretty, once you get on the webmail, it's pretty easy. It's under, I think it's under P, and then you can see it. But I will definitely send you the information in the morning.
All right. And along those lines, you don't want our cell numbers on the cards, just the Lake Forest number?
If you would like to have your cell number placed on your business card, we can do that.
Okay. I would prefer that personally, but the other commissioners can decide if that's what they want to do or not.
My 2 cents on this one is, if I want them to have my personal cell phone number, I'll give it to them.
Yeah.
You know, but that's me. That's
Okay.
me. Yeah. that's
Actually,
all.
I've been corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really should actually refrain from putting your personal telephone numbers on the business cards, but
Right.
as you said, if you meet someone, you're free to give
put
it.
it on
Well, then
that.
that option is available based on a case-by-case basis, then.
It is.
Is that what you're...
Yeah.
If if you use your personal cell phone for city-related business, it's probably the same information that would be a personal email.
Ah,
So you want to think about that, texting or in regards to.
So the message is, except with rare exceptions, to use the Lake Forest main number.
I can speak to that briefly, Chair. There are issues relating to Public Records Act disclosures that arise with respect to the use of personal cell phones and personal computers, email addresses, and such. The issue is not yet decided by our Supreme Court, but we think that in order to protect your personal information, we recommend that you use city email addresses. And, of course, it's up to you to give out your personal cell phone, keeping in mind, however, that there might be a point in time where that texts on personal cell phones for city business might at some point be subject to disclosure. So we recommend using your city email addresses.
Based on that, I feel very comfortable to abide by the direct number for the Lake Forest City Hall, and the email addresses that Carol provides us would be more than adequate.
Victor, a question with what the city attorney just said. Commissioners and council members don't have specific offices or office hours or when they do whatever they do. Going to the email address first, I presume it would be something like a initial Jones at lakeforestca.gov or something similar to that type of thing. Correct? Okay. Then how is that routed out when it comes in? Is there a... You're going to answer, I know.
It goes to you guys, and you can access it through webmail. I gave you the directions. And then a copy goes to me as well.
Okay.
And then if Scott, needs to see it, I'll send it his way.
I understand that. The second question with the phone, a little different, I think, too, is, okay, the call comes in, and let's say it's community services line, Carol's number, just to take a particular case. And she answers it, and she takes a message, and she will forward it either by email or by calling or whatever. All right. I now pick up my cell phone to call that individual back. The number that appears on his or her phone is my cell phone number. So it's basically kind of out the window from the standpoint of different number, I mean, I can refrain from texting. I don't have a problem with that and use an email. That's not hard. But now that person has, say, access to my cell number, and the next time he wants or she wants to call me, maybe noted it. He called me back, hey, nobody else did or whatever. So now they call me on that number because they have it. So the cloak of invisibility created by the city number is gone.
Well, Chair and Commissioner Rosenberg, that's correct. Once you make a decision to use your personal cell phone, you're necessarily making a decision to allow members of the public to have your personal cell phone number. That's your decision that you can make. My comments earlier really dealt with records and the extent to which records relating to your personal cell phone, personal computers and such might be subject to disclosure under the Public Records Act. Again, as I mentioned, right now that's an open question. But with respect to your personal cell phone number, you're right. I mean, once you decide to use your personal cell phone number, whoever you call is now going to have access to your number. So, I mean, that's the decision you need to make.
Is my other option, I'm looking to do it right, but I'm also a realist. Is my other option now, Carol emails me that I got a call from Bob Jones and here's Bob's number. The other option seems, okay, get in the car, come to City Hall, use a city extension, and not call them back.
Or email them back from your special thing.
But what if they called and didn't leave an email? I mean, we're getting into, we can talk about it offline, but
I think offline discussion might be appropriate here.
I think there needs to be some more
taking up some
thinking
additional
on it.
time. If that's okay with you, Commissioner Rose.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. All right. So where are we? Commission comments. This is an opportunity for each commissioner to ask questions, make any comments as appropriate under commission comments. We'll start to my left with Commissioner Brahats.
I just wanted to personally thank staff for the amazing report on Village Pond Park. I read that stuff regularly at work, and sometimes they are lacking a lot. So whenever I lack questions, it's because you guys just went above and beyond with specific details more than I could have even thought of. And then I said I had no comment, but I was holding in my commendation for Cherry Park for the bridge. I just think that's amazing what you're doing, and I can't wait to go see it.
Help paint.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Workmeister.
Okay. Yeah, great job on the report on the Village Pond. I think very good. One comment, I brought it up at when we did our little joint meeting with the other commission and the council. Bunny Blast was awesome, but there was a lot of people there, and I kind of when I talked to Ron at Bunny Blast, he was saying we could just keep going more hours, and I thought, good gracious, maybe we could look at extending it to another day, and maybe on the other day possibly moving it to a different park. One of the issues with Lake Forest is we're a long city, and so the biggest complaint is, this half of the city or this half of the city. So maybe moving it again, even just up to Pittsford Park or something along those lines for a second day on a different weekend. I know it's a lot, but good gracious, we had so many people there that it was, and the lines were very long. I don't think you can do anything about that just because there was so many folks. So, but great job. I mean, Ron outdid himself again, and it was fantastic. As far as the Special Olympics stuff, I had an idea, and you guys may have already planned it out, but when you were talking about the dance, I was thinking, why not move the dance to the gymnasium of the sports park and make like a sock hop theme and do like kind of a 50s kind of thing and something like that? What? It's a sock hop.
Yeah.
People with walkers.
Yeah.
Give walkers.
I think there's ways to do it. Okay. All right. I think there's ways to do those things and mitigate those issues. Because I don't know how many folks will plan on having, but there's 88 participants, and then they're going to have caretakers and stuff. We need more space. So, and so, just a thought. Boy, Jim jumps on everything I say.
Yeah, well, we'll look at that.
Let's see. I think that was great. Everything else was great tonight, and thank you so much again for the Village Pond Park. That went very smoothly.
Thank you, Commissioner Hurt.
Oh, are you up for me? Okay. All right. Park Safari, are we booked on that one? Are we full, or? Sorry.
Carol, do we still have room?
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you, I guess I'm volunteering if you need me to go.
Oh, okay. We'll put you down.
I think so.
When you say you're volunteering, what do you mean?
Well, I will probably get on the bus.
Are you going to be a participant? Or?
I can be whatever they want. I can, I know at the last stop we cook hot dogs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could do that, or I could be the filler-inner of information.
What is the date? The date, I'm sorry?
25th.
25th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love seeing our fellow Lake Forest citizens get on the bus and they're like, I didn't even know we had this. What is this? And it is kind of fun just to open their eyes. So anyway, I guess I'm volunteering for that. Skate park. I don't know if you remember, but last year we had a movie night at the skate park. Yes. Okay. That went so well that I was talking to a family, and their son now wants to come. He comes every Friday night with his dad to go to the skate park, and I believe that was due to the movie.
Which is what you want to hear.
Exactly.
That you got introduced to the skate park in a different way, and I loved it.
Right.
It's great. Thank you for letting us know. I'll pass it along to Nick.
Yes, yes. I helped with the special needs dance this time, and thank you for all of our Marines that came. I think they added such a special touch, and Scott was there, and Vicki. Yes, everybody was here, and I was. I just want to pass along some comments I heard from the parents. Perhaps we should not have red punch, because it does stain the carpet, and it might splash on their clothes. So something not red, or you know what I mean. Yes. Okay. And then also, we usually just serve punch and cookies. Another parent says, well, that's a lot of sugar. So, and you don't know how it affects, so I'm just passing those comments along, all right? But anyway, special needs dance, they are so precious and so loving. They're just wonderful. Went to Bunny Blast. I love the band, and I told them, because they add so much to that whole, when they come out and they do the parade, and the stilt walkers, I don't know how the heck they walk on ground that is this way. Yeah, it's not level. That's just it. Are we going to do anything for Steve Manning? Is that I'm sure that's in the works.
That is at the council meeting on the 21st.
Oh, council meeting.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So 21st.
Yes.
All right. I thought we were going to do something here for him. Okay, 21st. Okay, excellent. And then I heard from a lot of parents these last couple weeks. We should have put in a family bathroom up in our gymnasium facility, because a parent was there the other day, and she's got like a 9 or 10-year-old boy who is gushing from a bleeding nose. She couldn't take him into the women's bathroom because he's that age, so she had to take him into the men's bathroom. So then you have mom in the men's bathroom. So future places, we have to have a family bathroom, okay? Because I never even, didn't even think about that. And then another parent said, my understanding is if you want to use a sports park, you have to be a nonprofit. And I said, I didn't know, I wasn't aware of that. So.
Are they talking in regards to renting the sports park, or
using the facility for something?
Oh.
Yeah, my understanding, currently we have only rented to nonprofit organizations because we only have a fee for nonprofit organizations. Yes. Part of the fee resolution that we're going to bring back, I think we're bringing back recommended fees to the commission first, and then eventually to council. It will have another fee to accommodate
other than
for-profit organizations.
Yeah, because this particular gal, she wanted to do a workshop for her employees, and she thought it would be great if she could use the computer lab. I mean, obviously with permission and supervision, but she thought, what a great way, because her employees are really like all consultants, so they're all over the place, and she thought, what a great facility to bring them there, do a workshop, get them up to speed on whatever they needed to know in regards to their network and stuff. She couldn't. So I was kind of like, oh, I didn't know that. So anyway, so that was it. I can't believe we're in the middle of April. So thank you, everyone.
Very good, Commissioner Rosenberg.
Thank you. Okay, I'll try to combine some notes I have with what, again, this is so appreciated, this kind of follow-up here on things that we've talked about. Just quickly recapping some events. Leadership Luncheon was a little bit different, if I'm not mistaken. It was more of a volunteer luncheon than a, quote, the typical leadership luncheon, based on the attendees, the invitees or attendees, the keynote of the speaker, which was excellent. Is this kind of a change? Less people? Typically, we had a lot of the, call it community leaders in sense of business and organizations and that. I mean, neither way is bad. I was just
the reason we're all looking at each other is because that is coordinated by the clerk's department.
Okay.
So we could get an answer for you, but we don't have an answer right offhand.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No, it's just something was noticed. It was still a great event, but I think in a bigger, more global picture, to get some of the other people that we used to have maybe as part of this, does more overall for the city as a benefit of being involved. That's still a thing that needs to be somewhat on everybody's plate, to get the business community, the people, all kind of rowing to the same oar. So, again, a thought. What else? We had, again, just to throw in a quick marine item, we did a restaurant of the month at the Biagio's, which turned out extremely well. And good little Italian place down in the Lake Forest Warren area. The geese sometimes do get over that way, too. It's close enough. But and then they serve them. Geese Parmigiana. It's an excellent dish. But also a great family that's run it for 38 years. And they're going strong. So I attended the open house at Applied Medical, which was very, very nicely done. Again, another company that seems to be very much desirous of getting in tune with the city where they have their facilities. I know they're well thought of in Rancho, where they have their manufacturing facility, and they do a few things with the city. Bunny Blast was an absolute blast. It gets better. Ron does I've got to outdo myself every year, and comes up with it somehow. I kind of like the comment on how do we accommodate more people. I just think if we do it 2 days, the man may burn out, but even though I doubt that, I think he could do it 7 days a week. However, you also duplicate the expense pretty much. And I think an idea to consider might be to extend the hours. That way, you're not crammed into, realistically, 3 of the 4 hours. People come in the beginning, and the last hour it kind of peters out. But you've got the masses there between 11 and 2. And maybe if we could extend it a few hours outward to go to, maybe it's light then until 4:30 or 5. People aren't that pushed and crowded, lines might be shorter, and I don't think the incremental cost of having the rides there would be that much more. Shouldn't be, hopefully. So, but that's definitely worth considering, because it got real crowded this year at times. The strategic planning meeting was kind of interesting, the different format, but I think it went very well. A way of circulating the input and everybody having an opportunity to give input without necessarily having to verbalize it or any idea went up there. I will take typing lessons from you, Carlo, because my skills, I didn't qualify expert on the keyboard. I did with a rifle, but not with a keyboard. I'm a novice there, but it was great. The question, I know Mr. Dunnick kind of committed to some of that being all put together and coming back. Is there a time frame, a timetable for that?
Yes, Commissioner Rosenberg. That item is scheduled to return to the council on the Tuesday, the 21st.
Okay.
So at that point, the City Council will be reviewing the matrix of all of the comments and ideas and suggestions that were provided, and then providing us with some feedback, and then advancing the strategic plan.
Understand. So that'll be, to see it all in print will be part of the packet, or the 300-page weekly notebook they get, or whatever. We'll see it too. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that, because I think there were some obviously very good ideas there. Coming back to the Saddleback Valley Art League, I had an opportunity to have a cup of coffee with Linda Zimmerman. I met her. She spoke at one of the council meetings, and I think somebody suggested that we get involved with it. But anyway, I got her card, had a cup of coffee with her, and extremely nice lady, but really interested for a reason, because of the facilities we have now, of getting involved and working together with the city of Lake Forest. Hence the suggestion previously to maybe with the Cherry Park project to get, maybe some interface there. The other thing, Lake Forest is, as she said, a smaller part of their membership. She'd like to grow it in this area. She said she doesn't feel they've touched it yet. We kind of ruminated about some ideas and, how could they get exposure and things like that. And a thought we came up with was, well, we do other outdoor events, if they could piggyback on those, which would give them kind of an opportunity to be noticed, as opposed to saying, okay, we're going to have an outdoor art exhibit, let's say at the sports park, and 16 people show up to the first one, and you have 20 artists, kind of a bad sound in church especially, So my thought, and just again throwing it out as an idea, events like on May 17th when we do the Prelude in the park. One event where we'd have a lot of people would be one of the summer concerts.
Yes.
And she thought that idea was kind of neat, because that would give them kind of a hand-picked an audience there, if that works, to have 2,000 people that possibly could walk through where the artist exhibit part was, which I'm sure could be situated pretty close. Wouldn't have to be on a far field or something like that. But, if, again, ideas for consideration that maybe can enhance, what we're doing. special needs dance was absolutely special. It was. I shared with a couple of people, there was one incident there where I literally had to walk outside because it's not a pretty sight when this happens. So, and I make sure it doesn't happen real often, and I'm usually alone. So, but it was a marvelous event. I'm so glad to see we're doing more of it, and hopefully that will grow. That we can become kind of a mecca when we have the facilities for taking it even outside the city to attract them to come here. Looking forward to our volunteer luncheon at the end of the month, which is always kind of a fun thing. And also would like to, in kind of closing, ask for maybe at the next meeting or in the interim, just some kind of an update on our 25-year anniversary type thing, and including the idea that has been broached of doing a special event in the afternoon and evening at the sports park, kind of like a sequel to the parade, which I will put some data together and furnish. But time moves pretty quick, and there's got to be approvals and financial considerations, and yes on some and no on the others. So if we could start the ball rolling, I think that would be a great thing for our 25th to do something special on the 4th. And again, staff, thank you for everything you do and for the concise reports and the detailed reports and for coming down, and thank our city attorneys. It's rare that we see your representation at these meetings, so we're going to have to come up with some more issues that may kind of, how do I want to say it, that we can have a full this side and then get a full that side, and we'll really be cooking. Thank you very much.
Well, it's my turn. I believe in participating in as many activities as possible that's offered by on the parks, and I certainly have committed and will still carry through my commitment for the walk on Monday mornings at 10:30. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm finding it a hard time keeping up with the group. We have a very strong group there that walks and walks. I tell you, I'm not accustomed to walking that much, but I've been becoming good at it, walking around the park. And I encourage anybody who wants to join the group. It's 10:30 Monday morning if you feel so motivated. But it's a nice hour of break from whatever you're doing. I also I make it a habit of attending some special events and the seniors, St. Patrick's Day, which is one of my favorite events. It gives me a chance to show my colors, have corned beef, and I'm always impressed the number of seniors. I mean, I don't know how the city does it with all the logistics and the terrific group of volunteers that help out on this event. And we're talking a high number of seniors that you're serving lunch, in addition to all the bingo and things that go on during the day. So congrats. I mean, I'm just waiting for our multi-purpose center at our new City Hall site so we can have a lot of room to expand, and I know it's anticipated in the next couple of years, and that'll be an exciting time for everybody. But we have a very active senior group here in the city, and it's continuing to grow. And I think everyone's a senior in their heart. I mean, not necessarily by age, but spirit. This is an active group. There's also a busy time with school coming to an end for the summer period. Heritage Hill still has her full plethora of activities going on, particularly some of the joint activities that the city and the park enters into. Going into the winter, our premier events obviously is the Christmas season that we're gearing up, and also Halloween. It's our major event. So that's really exciting. So it's very thankful we have these facilities and to service and support our growing population of the city. Other than that, I don't have any additional comment. I'm pleased with the way we have conducted the due diligence. I actually go back quite a while back on the pond. And now it's reached its zenith, where we are now going into the solution implementation phase, which all of us have been anticipating. So I am very optimistic, based on the well-thought-through plan, that this is going to be very successful. Granted, there's going to be some bumps in the road, and we fully anticipate, since I mentioned earlier, it's kind of a learning curve. But I feel confident that it will be addressed in the appropriate manner, and as we get the progress reports. Other than that, thank you, and I don't have anything else more to add at this point. So if there's nothing further, I will adjourn.
Victor?
Yep.
A couple of questions. Who is and is not going to the volunteer luncheon?
Oh.
Loretta, you're on the list already. Jim, you are.
I am or I'm not? I am.
You are on the list.
The volunteer luncheon, can
Right.
you give me a date again on that? The 30th? I have it on my calendar, 30th at 11:30?
Yes, that is
At the location is
here. Yes.
here. Yeah, I have it on my calendar. so,
Okay.
Please add me to the list.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carol, I do too. I'm going.
You? Okay. And Francisco?
I do not know to what you are referring.
This is the,
Oh,
this is the award luncheon for all
Senior-
the seniors.
senior awards.
Oh, okay.
So it's fun.
We recognize them at the event.
Yeah, okay. I'll put it on my calendar. I'll check.
Okay, all right.
It's
It'd be
fine.
nice if we can, all of us can be there. I mean, are you?
Also, if anybody's interested in the park safari, there are 9 spaces left.
Excuse me,
I will-
refresh me. This is visiting all the parks?
No.
Or some of the parks?
Designated.
Two designated parks?
Designated. 2 days on the bus, otherwise.
Did they tell you what parks they are, or is it a surprise?
Sports park?
My understanding is it's Baker Ranch Park, Tamarisk Park,
Nice.
Sports park?
the skate park was, yeah, skate park, and I don't remember the 4th one.
Is this,
Last park is where they'll do the barbecue at.
That's
So it's-
Baker Ranch.
Yeah. And we usually try to highlight our newer parks, or ones we've done rehabs at.
too.
I would assume that they would go through the sports park, if not, stop there. Yeah, at least talk about it, yes.
Carol, add me. I will confirm it tomorrow because I think I have something else. But if not, I'll drive the golf cart with the libation in the back of the bus.
and the date again on this is?
You're
That,
you're the library, right? No, never.
The 3rd, for this park safari, it's not this weekend, but next weekend, right?
I mean, the 25th, right?
Right, here.
Starting at what time?
I have it here.
9:30.
And goes till what time?
And what it is you just get on a bus and they take you to the different parks. You stay a while. Then at the end, they go to Baker Ranch Park and they'll have a barbecue. And it's $3 a person. I don't know if there's any volunteer opportunities.
And it goes till what time? Is it most of the day, or?
No, it's until lunchtime. After
Oh, 9:30 to 12, okay.
I think it ended about 1 o'clock.
I'll check it.
Carol, just a quick question. I remember we did the first couple of them. Steve Manning and I went and wound up narrating them and things like that. Is somebody going to do a narration or?
Usually it's raw, right?
Yeah, there's rec staff that
Good, great, okay.
narrated.
Because they're super, yeah.
Any other announcements or comments, or are we done? Looks like we're done. Thank you. It was an excellent evening.
Yep.
Thank you, audience,
Motion to
for
Motion to adjourn.
attending. Motion to adjourn, and would be entertained. Thank you.
Motion is entertained or motion is made.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Do we have to hit the button?
Press our button.
Unanimous? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Press the button.